Good morning. We are going to call this meeting to order at 10:02 a.m. And let's take attendance. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Capaldi?
Here.
Vice President Verducci?
Here. All right, let's rise to Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. For all those in the room, for evacuation purposes, we have exits in the front and in the back. They will take you around out into the parking lot. First item on the agenda, we have some meeting minutes to approve. Can we vote these in a block? Or I'll take a motion to vote the meetings in a block.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? And Madam Clerk, did you receive any revisions?
I did not.
All right. How about a motion to pass the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All right.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi?
Yes.
Vice President Verducci?
Yes.
3 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody in the room who would like to make public comment, please stand up and come on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Brittany Boyer, 318 Town Farm Road. First, I just want to say on the record that I'm extremely disappointed that I'm the only person in this entire room from the town and that there are 4 people on Zoom. I see all day long the ranting and raving and screaming and yelling and pitchforks up in the air. There is not a single other, am I mistaken? No. That's it. So that's really disappointing. So I just wanted to say that publicly. And then I just have a couple questions that I had kind of come up with after going through my notes from last week. Looking at a couple different local, or I should say bordering towns, a lot of their pensions and a lot of other state pensions are calculated based on an employee's 3 highest paying years. Is that how Coventry pays out our pensions?
I believe it's 5, and that's based on the collective bargaining unit. So the police could be one set of rules, Council 94 could be another set of rules. So it depends on what each collective bargaining unit is.
Okay.
We have a local pension plan. We don't have any state, just the teachers are involved in the state system.
Okay. Should we be cautious about approving significant raises for employees nearing retirement since it directly increases long-term pension liabilities?
Yeah, I think the raises you're referring to, majority of those, you're talking about a collective bargaining agreement. So we're committed to those raises based on the collective bargaining agreement.
But are we committed to the ones upwards of the 7 and 10%?
Some of those, I'd have to look at the detail. Some of those that you're referring to, 7 or 10%, those could be folks that are part of the ICMA program, so they're not part of a defined benefit. They're a defined contribution pension plan. So I have to look at the detailed list to see specifically.
With some of these raises being so high, it almost seems like that may be almost strategic, kind of aimed at maximizing pension benefits for soon-to-be retirees so that they get that higher payout in the pension.
I think the reason for the extra money that's being given to them is for their additional duties and responsibilities.
Sure.
We're trying to compensate them fairly. We utilize the state list as to what the compensation is, and each municipality is different. So the clerk takes on more duties here than other places. The DPW director takes on more duties here than other places. So we want to compensate the people fairly.
Okay.
So I think that's how we handle it here.
Okay.
You want to, we have a
Sorry.
quick question here.
Comment. I understand what you're saying. I was thinking the same thing. Can we confirm? I agree. When certain roles take on extra responsibilities, they should be paid for it. When people are trying to poach our people, and we know that they're a gem in our town, we should keep them. But if they're nearing retirement and they're getting spiked a whole, 10% or more, can we just make sure that none of them are in the situation that,
I just want to make sure
Brittany-
we're fully considering.
Yes,
the
I agree with
long-term
that.
Financial impact that these raises have on the pension system.
Well, the thing is, people can retire anytime they want. I mean, Kevin was supposed to retire 3 years ago, and he's still here. So you really can't say, well, I would have given you a raise if you were going to stay, but now that you're going to plan on leaving, then we're not going to give you the raise. I mean, it's, my goal is to probably give them the money that they deserve for the job that they're doing. What they're able to do, I mean, I don't know these people's personal lives and their financial situations. I want to pay them for the work that they do while they're here. What happens with their pension, I don't think that really should be part of the conversation, whether I should give them a raise or not.
well, if you know that they're going to retire in a month, and then you're going to give them a raise. So that's one thing that I just want to be careful of.
Yeah, again, if they're looking at the average and taking a 5-year average, a raise over a 1-month period or 8-month period is not going to
But if it's
significantly
somebody who's
change.
going to retire in the next 3 to 5 years and they're taking a 10% increase, that is going to significantly impact the pension system. My other question was, will the DPW director retain that 7% raise after the temporary general contracting duties are completed? Yes. So even when he is finished being the general contractor, he will keep that 7%? Okay.
He will be retiring in, soon
We
thereafter.
don't know exactly when. He hasn't given us his paperwork
So
yet.
this is kind of exactly my point. We're giving a 7% increase, and I think it actually may be 10% if I'm
An
7.
additional 7.
An additional 7 on top of the 3, so 10% total, and he will be retiring after his general contracting duties are completed. So that's exactly the point I was just trying to make there.
Yep.
Do we have a cap on retention raises?
No.
And if not, should we consider implementing one to ensure fairness and budget sustainability?
Something we can talk about.
I feel like we had a position that we gave a 10% increase because they were poached by another town, but what if it was a 12? What if it was a 15? What if that person, wanted a 16%? Where's the cap? And that's why I feel like something like that, because if somebody hears of somebody getting a 10, I've had it in my, where I work with my staff, somebody, spoke to somebody else about getting a 10%, somebody else asked for a 12, somebody else asked for a 14. It's kind of, where do you draw that line? And you have to, it's hard to be the person to make that decision, I guess, to draw that line. So I feel like if there's a cap on retention across the board, it might be easier to help with that.
I'm not sure if it was you who brought it up, but somebody did last time, the pay bands or, classification caps. So, in other levels of government, they have those federal, state. We don't have any,
I was told we did not.
so we don't have anything like that. So in this case, it would have to be something we would create job grades with a minimum and maximum, or?
Well, again, I think you can look at that, but we've also been trying to look at Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns puts together a study of every municipality, or at least municipalities that want to participate in the study. We're trying to stay in that range. At this point, our directors were at the low end of the range for most positions.
So that's one way we do look to do that other piece you were talking about is, that's another, excuse me, would be another red flag for us if, that position in the previous conversation was coming up right at the end, and all of a sudden they were making 40 grand more than the one in Providence or something like that.
Right, so
So right now, that's, I guess, what we would have to compare.
part of my concern with that is, and I don't know anyone's numbers or what they make, but if the DPW director, say, retires, do we hire internally first and then source outside, or?
It's an open system because
Okay, so,
it's a non-union position, so I could look internally or
sure. So say he retires and he has X amount of years service with us, he has just gotten that 10% total raise. If somebody comes in off the street now and they're extremely well qualified and they want 10% more than that, where do we cap these positions? We're gonna have a DPW director making $200,000 a year. If we keep adding these and I know that's exaggerating, but keep adding these percentages on, people are going to keep coming in and applying for these jobs. And that's what I feel like is going to happen. And I'm all about fairness in wages. I truly believe that. The staff that I have at my office are, they're a wonderful staff, and I'm totally on board with paying people what they're worth and retaining people. It's 1,000% easier to keep the staff you have than to keep hiring new staff, and it saves you money to retain the staff you have. But I think we just have to be really smart with the majority of our budget going towards payroll. I feel like we have to be really smart about how we're doing that.
Municipal government's difficult because, I mean, sometimes you can't find people. So just for instance, the city of Cranston was looking for a DPW director. That salary was at 130. They finally just hired someone. They had to give him 170.
Okay,
So, because there's no one with those qualifications out there, so.
right.
It depends, yeah, and they don't even have sanitation. So it depends on the municipality and what particular job you're looking for.
Sure.
Right now, there are no finance directors out there. There are no planning people out there. So depends on the situation, but I understand your point.
Yeah, awesome. And then my last question was, I was interested in hearing if any of you guys had any questions or concerns. I haven't really, I don't know what the logistics are there, if you guys can say any thoughts that you had, but if you guys had any questions or thoughts on the budget that you were looking at personally.
I was going to say, I think if I remember correctly, this is just for the public to talk about their issues and concerns.
So, yeah, we kind of doing a little bit of both like this conversation. So the public thoughts then kind of breed into one of these conversations. So that's helping us. We're all relatively new, actually, as it happens up here today. So we had a chance to do this a couple months ago, and then on Tuesday's meeting is going to be all budget again. So like, if Councilwoman Capaldi says, you know what, I've been looking at this, and in my heart of hearts, I want to move 100,000 from here to there, that's the next step after this. So,
Okay.
yeah, today continues the public comment. Obviously, people are welcome out there to continue to send those in. And then Tuesday's the day for changes, so to speak.
Okay, excellent. I'm just trying to figure out how the world works here.
And I think that a lot of what we were talking about that week, or at least I expressed when was that, Tuesday?
It's all a blur.
Today? I don't even know. It's all the same. It's the way that we move forward with the budget. Like, we can't just have a lump sum of this high, looks like a high increase in salary, and it looks like one person has it when it actually 10 people have it. So things like that, or the solicitor's budget, we need to see all of those.
Right.
So those things obviously can't really go into this current budget. We can't see that because they're already done, but that will be going for next year.
Okay,
But as VP said, Tuesday we'll be bringing up more of our concerns of the actual budget.
awesome. All right, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Just to summarize, we made that one addition that we spoke about. So we think we're going to add $15,000 for the special election. We're going to take that from DPW. We'll backfill DPW with impact fees. We kind of want to keep the number where we are if we can. And we recalculated the tax increase, and it went from 1.6 to 1.48. So that's the tax increase right now, which is about $96, $97 a year. Just to kind of keep the council updated. For a house, that's about $400,000.
So just to go back on that point, so the current, so this wouldn't be the provisional budget necessarily, because that was its own document we passed. Now we have like a working budget, kind of?
Same numbers.
Same numbers roughly?
Yeah, I think what we're saying is, if the budget were to be approved as presented, you would just make a recommendation to approve as presented with the revision to add 15,000 to the Board of Canvass's budget for a special election, and pick a line item within the DPW budget to reduce. So I would say you could reduce sidewalks by 15,000, road paving by 15,000, and we could replace that with impact fee money, which is available to cover those same items.
Councilwoman Capaldi.
That 15,000 is for the two seats right there, correct? What happens if we're all recalled? When does that election happen, and do we have any money in the budget for that?
It would probably be the same time, July and August.
But that would need to be more money.
We have to open up more polling places. Yep. There's money in there for the special referendum for the end of next year, so we would find the money.
Thank you. I just have to go on the record and say, not that I care where the money comes if I'm recalled, right? I won't be here, so there you go.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room for public comment on docketed items? Please raise your hand and come forward. If not, we will go to Zoom. And I see a hand. Thank you very much. Please come off mute and give us your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Robert Heavy, 607 Weaver Hill Road, Coventry.
All right, go ahead.
Well, first is a procedural question more than anything else. I look at the table and I see 3 members. Is this meeting actually being held with a valid quorum?
Yes, due to the fact that we're 5 now, the 3 satisfies the quorum, but there's, also no votes being taken. So this is just kind of the public meeting process. So yes, we're good.
But shouldn't the quorum still be based on the total body of 7?
That wasn't my understanding, but hold on, we will check.
First off, this is a public hearing on the budget. We're not here to give legal advice. The legal advice we give to the council members, and the solicitor's office has decided that this is a proper quorum. And as I said, we're not here to discuss or give legal advice to the public.
Okay, well, I'll just make a comment that as a follow-on to Ms. Boyer's comment where she was disappointed about the attendance. I'm also disappointed with the attendance of the council where only 3 members of the 5 that are still on could actually be in attendance. Since it was a, published meeting that was published well in advance. But I have a couple of questions separate from that. One is, you just mentioned that there's already money in the budget next year for a referendum. Can you specify what that referendum is for?
If the budget doesn't pass by a supermajority, then we would have to go out to the voters. So we put some money aside for that, sir.
Okay. It's not for a referendum for the municipal fire department?
It is not.
Okay. And the second question, this budget, while it has some, significant pay increases, which is very good for the people that are getting them, I've been trying to find items in the budget that are actually paying down some of the unfunded pension liabilities, since the town budget has a very significant unfunded set of liabilities. And I don't see any significant numbers addressing that issue. And I'm wondering why we're kicking the can down the road and not trying to start funding some of those unfunded liabilities, especially with, the now, salary increases that are going to further exaggerate the unfunded liabilities.
So annually, the town does receive an actuarial evaluation from our outside independent actuaries. The town budgets 100% of the actuarially determined contribution. So we're funding exactly what the actuary says we need to fund so that we can get to 100% funding on the pension plans. Those are in the individual lines within each department. You have the pension contribution. The most significant portion is in the police department's budget. You'll see in excess of $6 million going into their pension plan, which again is the exact number that the actuary says we need to contribute. And then a big chunk of the municipal pension plan, pension contribution could be found in the human resources budget with other components spread out through various departments. And then as far as, the ongoing liability, like I said, we're funding what the actuary says we need to fund, or we should fund, the recommended contribution. And then also, as of June of 2013, the town went to a defined contribution pension plan. So that's being funded on, each pay period. So on a weekly basis, that's being funded. Contributions made similar to a 401k plan, that's being put right into the employee's account.
And what was the date of that actuary's recommended contributions? Because a lot of investments have been rather sour lately.
Again, if you understand an actual evaluation, there's various assumptions that go into there. So it's not a snapshot at a, we're not looking at it each month. So the most recent valuation was done as of June 30th, 2024. The next one will be done as of June 30th, 2025. So it's an annual evaluation. Anybody that follows the stock market knows you don't look at it and for what it's done the last 1 or 2 months. You look at a significant period of time, generally a 10-year period of time. So again, the actuaries are much more qualified to come up with that calculation than I am, and we rely on them, and we contribute exactly what they say we should contribute so that we can get to a fully funded plan.
And just to provide a little more, since we did bring this topic up actually when we had a budget committee, just a quick note on, I just found my notes. Overall, we've got about $96 million for everybody listening in that outstanding debt. Police is about 64 million of that, town employees 17 million. Long-term debt, not operating shortfall. The funded ratio for police was 13.8% in 2015, and that increased to 33% in about 10 years. So just to give you some context in that, you know, although nobody here would tell you it's great to have debt and that we want it to go up, just wanted to give a little more context that it's at least heading in the right direction. Similarly, the funded ratio for the town employees increased from 34% to 47.4% over that same period. So again, we all would like to see that paid down as quick as possible. However, a couple of years on the back end of that debt would lead, or us catching up a little bit on that debt would lead us to making, you know, cuts now or increased taxes now. So just to give you a little bit more info, sorry to cut you off, Mr. Heavey, but go ahead.
No, well, thank you. I will do some more investigation, but, and I'll be going part-time, so I'll have much more time to invest in studying budgets in the near future.
We'll take all the comments we can get, so thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, do I see another hand raised? Please come on in, unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Stacy Nichols, 159 Lewis Farm Road. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding and that other people who maybe aren't budget experts can understand. So right now, moving forward, it looks like the pensions are funded. And does that include the school pensions? Because I know that's separate, but is it combined as well, or are their pensions completely different?
Yeah, so again, on the town side, we have the police pension, local 94 pension, and then the 401A pension plans. Those in this budget are fully funded at the actuary determined contribution, as just indicated. As far as the school pension plan, they have the SRP pension plan, which a portion of it gets funded in the town's budget. You'll see that underneath the school department's detailed budget line items. That also is funded in accordance with the actuary determined contribution. And as far as the teachers' contributions, or the school's contribution to that plan, superintendent's here, he could speak, but I believe that's fully funded, again, equal to the actuary determined contribution. And as far as the teachers that are part of the state pension plan, they have to fund that in accordance with what the state provides. So that's paid on a bi-weekly basis by the school department. And again, if that's not funded or if they're not paying that obligation, the state would be withholding the school aid. So I believe that is being funded at 100% of what they're.
Okay, thank you. I just know that when looking at the budget, a lot of our debt is unfunded pensions. And I know that is a long-term plan. So I know it's not, you know, the stock market today, but as more people are retiring in the next few years, like the DPW director, I think it's important that we're really keeping that in mind because historically, I think that has been a thing that got the town into difficulty to begin with. I think President Lima last meeting answered a lot of questions. I don't remember hearing, because I know a lot of the information we look at is looking back at what we have paid for things, and that helps us make projections. That there was $100,000 difference between the approved and actual for the town manager budget in 2023. Didn't know what that was for and if that's something we should be accounting for again.
I believe that was the payout to Mr. Marchant upon his termination.
Okay, so we were paying for two town managers.
No, that was 2023.
Yeah,
In the 2023's budget. That was already paid for.
yeah. So,
Payout because
but
that
we were
person
paying
left
for the new town manager, and then we were making the final payment to the town
Correct.
manager.
There was
leaving.
an interim town manager that was in the town prior to Mr. Perillo coming in March of '23. But because of the former town manager had a contract, there was a payout that had to be made to his contract for a severance of his services.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, you need all these people to work in municipalities. I think I got in the wrong job field here by being a farmer. And I think, oh, I just had a question because Brittany asked actually a lot of my questions, my concerns about pensions and pay increases moving forward. Yeah, and then just as she also asked actually I had emailed Jonathan, but he's not there to answer this. It was page 66. There's additional fees for the annex and repairs to the annex, and I didn't know if that was covered underneath the grant.
No, that is all that's the working operation of the annex. So that's the heating, air conditioning, plumbing, all the fees associated with maintaining that annex, which is approximately 100,000 square foot building. That's all comes out of the budget. The new annex program to renovate the 4.5 million, that is all grant money.
Okay, so we would anticipate once the building is complete that there will be additional fees there, because I think this is the slippery
There'll be some
slope that
savings there in the
we-
maintenance once the building is renovated and the HVAC is upgraded and so forth. So we're hoping that general fund line item comes down a little bit, actually.
Okay. Because these are things that we approve and then it's like the long term, right? Like the free money is great and then we're invested in a project that the taxpayers are on the hook for. And then as Brittany asked, and I'm sure it'll come up Tuesday, but just what town council members think of the budget, areas that they would like to see improvement. Have said in the last meeting, I think that we definitely could and should be making some cuts to the budget, given the current economic stance. I know that's maybe not the feeling of people on council, but it would be great to hear from them, and that's all.
So regarding the annex, the programming, we have an additional $100,000 coming for programming in year one, and we're currently working with other governmental organizations to actually give them space for free inside the annex. And the offset to that is that they will provide some staffing for us. So we're hoping it'll be a minimal increase to program that building for the remaining 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's great. I will say I have been in that annex building many times. The clerk in there has said it's basically always empty, that she would love to see programming in there because essentially no one is, I've never gone in there and seen people in that building other than the Board of Canvassers.
Well, again, the goal is we're renovating the 40,000 square feet for programming, for health, monitoring, education, and workforce development, and also built the building officials in that building, the engineers in that building, and the planning and zoning department are in that building. And the school takes up about a third of it, the school administration. So that's the entire use of that facility.
Do you have anything else, Stacy?
Nope, that's all my questions and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, anybody else on Zoom, please raise your hand. I see one. And please unmute and introduce yourself and provide your address, please.
Hi, my name is Sue Reynolds. I live at 62 Clark Mill Street in Coventry. And my question is on the police overtime. I know when the chief was up before us, he talked about they were having trouble getting new hires, so a lot of officers were required to work overtime. And that's a concern not only for budgetary reasons, but for safety reasons. So I'm hoping we could follow up on that with the police chief, because we're going over budget we were in February, 77% of the overtime budget was used with 4 months to go. And in the previous 2 years, we had gone over by 300 and 500,000 in just the overtime budget. He suggested he was having trouble hiring people because we couldn't offer a signing bonus and something along that lines. And my other concern about it is, are the taxpayers paying for the traffic details? Is that part of the overtime from the police?
So in general, the police department has been coming in right on budget. The overtime may be over, but the salary line item and other items are below. So normally, the police department's right on budget. We have one person graduating in May. We have 4 going in July, and a lateral coming hopefully in September. So that'll get us to 1 below our maximum capacity. So that will definitely help out for sure. So we are attracting some people over the last 6 months. And all police details are paid for by private contractors. The town makes money charging the contractor for the detail and also the vehicle that is used. The town makes money off of.
So
Very
to kind of
good.
get back to your original question, we're going to see, a shift in that overtime line item. As that goes down, we'll see an increase in salaries and benefits, obviously, but that will get to your safety concern, because as that overtime goes down, now we've got people on fresh shifts as opposed to, sticking around for overtime. So, your point is valid, and we are paying real close attention to that. Just to remind everybody again, $700,000 is about 1% increase on the tax levy. So, just to give you a sense of how big those numbers can get, we totally appreciate that. So thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else on Zoom? Please raise your hand. All right, Zoom going once, going twice, and we'll go back into the room here for one more time again. No, she's good, okay. Anyone else in the room, public hearing, public comment? Going once, going twice. All right, that will do it on public comment.
Council Vice President, Solicitor Angel asked me to ask the council to take a motion to formally close public comment.
Ooh, can I have a motion to close public comment on the hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Discussion. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi?
Yes.
Vice President Verducci?
Yes.
3 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Thank you very much. So the only other item we have, we did have you, but we kind of started it already, Dan. Anything else, town manager report perspective, or we covered all that in the,
How all covered? We're ready for Tuesday night.
ready for Tuesday? All right. Next up, we have public comment on undocketed items. And if there's anybody in the room who would like to speak on undocketed items, please come up. All right, not all at once. Okay. And anybody on Zoom, please raise your hand to come in to comment on undocketed items. All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on undocketed items.
Make a motion.
Second.
And any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Capaldi?
Yes.
Vice President Verducci?
Yes.
3 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, motion passes.
Councilwoman Capaldi.
Brittany, I just want to thank you for always trying to get people to come down here. I see your posts. I don't get it. But you post, and if people want to make a difference, they should be here like you. So thank you for that.
All right, do we need to close the public hearing as a whole, or we're good now?
No, I just motion to adjourn.
All righty, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilman Brown, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Capaldi. All those in favor?